So I assume my screen would be visible enough to you. So as you can see right now, boldly written on my screen, today we are going to be discussing about the second day of our workshop on fuel cells. So these are the topics which we have had already covered in the first day of our session, and today we are going to be carrying on with the second day of our session with introduction to fuel cell. We'll learn the working phenomena of fuel cell, and we'll learn about the different types of fuel cells, and towards the conclusion, which will be done in the third day. So today we are going to be covering until the different types of fuel cell, and we would be covering until certain real life examples of fuel cell electric vehicles. And in the third session, which is going to be conducted tomorrow, we will be covering the remaining part involving the working phenomena, advantages, disadvantages, and certain mathematical calculations about fuel cells. So this is what is going to be the agenda for today. So giving you just a quick recap of what we have had studied yesterday. So yesterday we had discussed about an introduction to electric vehicle, wherein I had told you about the definition of EV. We had discussed about the various components of our electric vehicle, and we had also discussed on certain energy resources which are available for the manufacturers to be using in their battery packs, just other than a in the electric vehicles, just other than a battery pack or a fuel cell. And also we have had discussed about the working phenomena of electric vehicles along with their advantages and their challenges which are being faced, which is constraining them from growing into the various markets. So that was that. So starting off with the second day of our session, which is our introduction to fuel cells. So in the previous class also, students, if you remember, we have had discussed about electrochemical cells, wherein I had told you an electrochemical cell is nothing but a simple machine or a mechanism which can convert our chemical energy into electrical energy, right? So I have had given examples of electrochemical cells to you, like lithium-ion cells, lead-acid cells, nickel-cadmium cells, lithium-sulfur cells. So all of these examples come under the category of electrochemical cells. They can produce or store electrical energy by virtue of certain chemical reaction which take place inside their cathode, or if you can call it as the electrode and the electrolyte. So our fuel cells are nothing but other kind of electrochemical cell. Okay, fuel cells are nothing but a different other kind of electrochemical cell which can convert the chemical energy of a fuel into electrical energy. But let me tell you, there are certain striking differences between a regular fuel cell and a lithium-ion cell or any regular, electrochemical cell. Fuel cells are a lot different from a regular lithium-ion or regular lead-acid cell in certain aspects. We will be discussing about them in the further coming slides. So just giving you an introduction of what fuel cells are. Fuel cell is a simple electrochemical cell which can convert your chemical energy of the fuel into electrical energy. The energy, if you remember, our electrochemical cells are mostly produced by the electrolysis reactions itself. So over in the yesterday's class, I had made you understand about the redox reaction. So I hope you remember redox reactions. What are the redox reactions? For those who don't remember, let me just recall it to you. Redox reactions are a special type of electrochemical reaction in which reduction and oxidation reaction will be taking place simultaneously at both the electrodes. Okay, so very similar to that of any regular electrochemical cell that we have, our fuel cells also produce their electrical energy by the redox reactions only. Okay, so in a lithium ion or a lead acid cell, we were using certain electrode materials and electrolyte in order to produce our electrical energy. But in fuel cells, what we will do is we will be mostly using gases. Okay, we will be mostly using gases. For this very reason, when fuel cells were initially developed, they were known as gas voltaic cells because they used to produce certain electric potential by using certain atmospheric gases like hydrogen and oxygen. So in fuel cells, mostly our hydrogen will be used as the fuel. Okay, we would be using hydrogen gas as the fuel, and the oxygen, the atmospheric oxygen, will be used as an oxidizer. Okay, now just a few moments back, I had mentioned the your fuel cells are strikingly different from your any regular electrochemical cell. Now, this is where the point of difference comes in. In a regular lithium ion or a lead acid cell, we learned that they can go through both charging and discharging cycle. If you remember, a regular lithium ion cell or a lead acid cell, they can go through the both recharging as well as the discharging cycle. But let me tell you, the fuel cells cannot go through the cannot go through the charging cycle. Okay, there is no charging cycle present in your fuel cell. Like you cannot reverse the direction of the current. Okay, if you remember the no, if you remember in yesterday I was telling you about the migration of ions in between the electrodes depending on the cycle of operation. In the charging cycle, the ions were migrating from positive electrode towards the negative electrode, or from the cathode towards the anode. In the negative no, in the discharging cycle, they were traveling from the anode or the negative electrode towards the positive electrode, if you remember, right? So in fuel cells also there will be migration of ions, but only from the negative electrode towards the positive electrode. Since there is no charging cycle which is going to happen, there will be no migration of ions from the cathode towards the anode, or from the positive electrode towards the negative electrode. There will be migration of ions only from the anode towards the cathode. Okay. Now, fuel cells have got certain resemblance. Okay, they have got certain resemblance with our IC engine vehicle. Now, see, why am I telling this? IC engine vehicles, in IC engine vehicles, what used to happen? We are supposed to have a fuel tank, right? We will be burning that fuel in order to generate the mechanical energy. So the chemical energy of the fuel was getting converted into mechanical energy to drive the vehicle, or to make the vehicle move, to propel the vehicle, isn't it? So in fuel cells also, that is what going to be happening. We would be storing the fuel, which is hydrogen, in the high pressure tanks. Okay, if you would have ever noticed, CNG powered or LPG powered vehicles, they are supposed to be having big cylinders inside the boot space of your vehicle, right? So in fuel cell electric vehicles also, that is what is going to be happening. We are supposed to have high pressure tanks wherein we would be storing compressed hydrogen, and we would be providing that hydrogen into the fuel cells through the supply lines. Okay, there are supposed to be pumps, there are supposed to be supply lines which will take the compressed hydrogen in a calculated format. Okay, they will take the calculated precise amount of hydrogen from the high pressure tanks, and they will put it put that put that into the fuel cell stack, and inside the fuel cell stack the hydrogen will combine with the oxygen, and subsequently they will start producing the required amount of electrical energy. Now, in an IC engine vehicle, what used to happen is, as long as we are supposed, or as long as we would be providing fuel into the engine, we would be having mechanical energy, the vehicle would be moving. But once our tank runs empty, once we completely consume our fuel from the fuel tank, our engine would be gasping for fuel, and engine would be completely dead. There would be no mechanical energy produced, right? Similar is the case with fuel cells as well, right? Until and unless, or as long as you are providing hydrogen to your fuel cell stack, you would be having mechanical energy or electrical energy being produced by them. As soon as you stop the supply of hydrogen to the fuel cells, there will be no electrical or mechanical energy produced. So the fuel cells have got resemblance to both IC engine powered vehicles in certain aspects, and in certain other aspects they are like having resemblance to our battery electric vehicles, or you simply may call it as electric vehicles. So since they do not go through the recharging phase, okay, you cannot just reverse the direction of the chemical reaction taking place in the discharge cycle. You need to fill your hydrogen tanks just the way you do it in case of your IC engine vehicle. Simply drive up your vehicle to the fuel station or the gas pump, fill it in with your fuel. Similarly, in hydrogen or in fuel cell electric vehicles, that's what we are going to be doing. We would be driving up our vehicle to the hydrogen pumps, and over there the nozzle will be connected to the tank, and you would be paying for it, and the tank will be filled with hydrogen. So the major products that we get in a fuel cell are electricity. Okay, the major product that we would be getting out of a fuel cell will be electricity. Okay, and the byproducts will be water and heat. So these fuel cells are highly efficient. Okay, the fuel cells can run up to an efficiency of 40 to 60%. But the 40 to 60% efficiency which is mentioned down here is for the automotive fuel. Okay, For automotive fuel cells, they can offer a maximum of up to 40 to 60% efficiency. But if you talk about the industrial fuel cells, which are still under development, okay, industrial fuel cells are not out into the market as of now, but very soon they will be. Like in 2 to 5 years of time, we would be having industries running on fuel cells. So those fuel cells which have got or which are being used in the industry or which are supposed to be used in the industry, they will be having an efficiency of about 70 to 85%. Now, how are you going to get that boost? It is going to be happening, or it will be making, it will be happening due to the use of a technology known as cogeneration. Now, cogeneration is one such phenomena in which you are going to absorb, in which you are going to recover the heat which is being produced by the system and exchange it with another subsystem of your overall system. Okay, the heat which is being generated as a byproduct by the fuel cells will be exchanged with either the boiler or with the heater or with the heat furnace, as a result of which the efficiency of the system, the economy of the system will be further enhanced, thus making the fuel cells and the overall system lot more energy efficient. Okay, so this was just about your introduction of fuel cells. Now moving on towards the various components of fuel cells. So if you remember, an electrochemical cell has got three major components. Every electrochemical cell that we have in the world, how advanced it may be, it has got only three major components. One is the cathode, which is the positive electrode, then is the anode, which is the negative electrode, then we have the electrolyte, which will be facilitating in the migration of ions in between both the electrodes. But in fuel cells, what happens is we have got two more additional components like the anode catalyst and the cathode catalyst. So the anode catalyst and the cathode catalyst are actually coated over the electrodes. Okay, either the electrode would be made out of the catalyst, or the catalyst would be powdered and coated over the electrode in order to help in production of electricity. Now we will be discussing why and how the catalyst helps while learning about the working phenomena of fuel cells. Now moving on, so as you can see right now on your screens, this shows the classification of fuel cells, right? So this screen right over here shows you the classification of fuel cells. So let me tell you, the fuel cells are majorly classified on three different parameters. Okay, your fuel cells will be majorly classified on three different parameters. Like the first and most important parameter is of operating temperature. Okay, the temperature at which the fuel cells operate is one such important feature on which the classification of fuel cells depends. Secondly, the fuel cells are classified on the startup time, like what is the amount of time they need in order to heat themselves up and start producing electrical energy. So that is one such important parameter. And third parameter is of the electrolyte that is being used. Okay, so our fuel cells are mostly classified on three different parameters, which are the operational temperature or the working temperature, the the startup time required in order to heat themselves up and start producing electrical energy, and thirdly, we they are mostly classified on the type of electrolyte that they are using. Okay, so as you can see in this tabulated format, we have got all the different type of fuel cells that we have right now, which are either in use or under development. Then you can see your operational temperatures and the applications where they are being used, right? So the proton exchange membrane with an operational temperature of 30 to 100 degrees Celsius is mostly used for vehicle and mobile applications. So this is the type of fuel cell which is mostly used for automotive applications due to its low startup time and lesser operational temperature. Then we have phosphoric acid fuel cells which are used for industrial purposes, and you can accordingly find out the operational temperature, which is close to 20 degrees Celsius. Then we have the high temperature fuel cells like solid acid fuel cell, solid oxide, and molten carbonate fuel cells. So these three type of fuel cells are classified as your high temperature fuel cells, because as you can see, the solid acid fuel cell has got an operating temperature which is close to 1000 degrees Celsius. The solid oxide cells operate between 500 to 1000 degrees Celsius, and the molten carbonate fuel cells operate at a temperature which is somewhere close to 650 degrees Celsius. So all these three different type of fuel cells are mostly being targeted, they are mostly being targeted for use in industrial applications. Okay, they are mostly being developed to be used in industrial applications. Then, other than that, we have the alkaline fuel cell, which was one of the very first fuel cells of the world to be ever developed and to be ever used in any kind of space mission. It was developed by Thomas Bacon and was also known as the Bacon cell. Okay, so they have an operational temperature of about 50 to 200 degrees Celsius. And lastly, we have the direct methanol fuel cells, which are mostly being developed to be used for mobile portable electronics. They will be mostly used for consumer electronics like our mobile phones, Bluetooth earphones, electric toothbrushes, those cordless tools, medical devices, etc., etc. Because of their lesser operating temperature again, which is like very less, 20 to 90 degrees Celsius is the maximum operating temperature that. So it is like mostly being developed for portable electronics. Now, moving on towards the automotive fuel cells. So guys, if you remember, in automotive applications, we mostly use PEM fuel cells. The PEM actually stands for proton exchange membrane or proton electrolyte membrane. Okay, the PEM in the automotive are one of the largely used type or kind of fuel cells in the automotive industry. And the PEM actually stands for proton exchange membrane or proton electrolyte membrane. So in these type of fuel cells, we mostly use hydrogen as the fuel. And if you remember, while learning about the components of the fuel cells, I told you about the anode and the cathode catalyst. So in proton exchange membrane fuel cells, we mostly use platinum as the catalyst of anode, and we use powdered nickel as the catalyst of cathode. Okay, in PEM fuel cells or proton exchange membrane fuel cells, we use platinum as the anode catalyst, or we use powdered platinum as the catalyst of anode, and we use nickel as the catalyst of cathode. Okay, so they have low temperature operation, quick startup time, and they are compact and also do have high power density when you compare it to standard lithium ion batteries. Okay, now let us see some real life examples of fuel cell electric vehicles. So as you can see right now, these are two beautiful cars, the Toyota Mirai. Toyota Mirai is one of the largest selling fuel cell electric vehicles. See, as of now in India, we do not have these vehicles, right? Yes, it is being anticipated that by the year 2022, we are going to be having fuel cell electric vehicles running on our Indian roads. But as of now, we do not have them. And we should not expect them actually, because in India, we actually do not, we have a poor battery charging infrastructure, let alone. So in the current scenario, the fuel cell electric vehicles are a far cry for Indians, right? So, firstly, we have to strengthen our battery charging infrastructure. Then only we can be looking for any other options. But if you look on to other Asian countries like Indonesia, Japan, and China, so over there are a lot of manufacturers who are actually launching a lot of different type of fuel cell electric vehicles like Toyota, Honda. All of these are Japanese manufacturers, and they do have their multiple fuel cell EV products in multiple segments. Like the Toyota Mirai is a executive sedan. The Honda Clarity is a executive sedan, which is a fuel cell electric vehicle. Other than that, we have the Hyundai Nexo and the Hyundai Tucson as well, which is being sold as iX35 in a lot of different markets. So the news which I was telling you, the anticipation of fuel cell electric vehicles coming to India. So it was probably I just saw it up on Google. Like once I was just like scrolling down my feed and found out that the Hyundai Nexo is going to be coming to India in the year 2022. So let's see how it goes. Keep your fingers crossed. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. So yeah, that's about it. Then other than that, we have the working phenomena. So guys, I hope until now I would be clear enough to you. And the working phenomena is going to be discussed in the third day of our workshop. So I hope you would have enjoyed whatever we studied until now. Thanks for your patience, and I'm always ready to answer your questions, answer your doubts. So please put me up your questions, and thank you so much, guys, for joining in. And yeah, signing out for today. Okay.